19 years ago, my mum was passing the time online when she came across this farmhouse in Maryville, Tennessee. It was perfect, had everything she'd ever dreamed of in a home. Had a tin roof, nice plot of land, and even a creek out back. There was just one problem. We didn't live in Maryville. We didn't even live in Tennessee. We lived over 4,000 miles away in Woking, England, if you couldn't have told already. Now, if you're wondering why my mum was looking at homes in Tennessee, it's because that was where she was from. She had moved to England at 26 with my dad, whom she had met while he was traveling across the States on a motorcycle. In something that resembles a romantic comedy, my dad, having just left the Irish military, was traveling from New Jersey, where his friend John lived at the time, to New Mexico, where he was about to start work as a waiter. But while traveling through Knoxville, a city he had never intended to stay in, he was hit by a car and knocked over 20 feet into the ditch. So now, somewhat keen to extend his stay in Knoxville, he was taken to St. Mary's Hospital, where he would meet my mum, who worked there as a phlebotomist. A somewhat significant meeting for them both, as not even 6 months later, they would be married and moving to England together to start a family. Now, unfortunately, as does tend to happen with hospital romances, it didn't work out. And they would end up divorcing in the early 2000s, leaving my mum in England, feeling homesick, and looking at farmhouses in Tennessee. Now, when my mum first approached us about moving to Tennessee, and sorry, I'm going to do that a lot, the Tennessee-England mix is going to throw me off. When my mum first approached us about moving to Tennessee, I was 13, so I didn't have a whole lot of experience with high-stakes decision-making. Strange for a 13-year-old, I know. But despite that, I knew where was going to be the best place to live. I mean, England's good. I mean, it's got history and all that stuff. But what Tennessee has, free drink refills, lots of cereal options. Oreo cereal in particular seemed extremely unique. Riding lawnmowers, which I actually crashed one into a car once in Florida, but that's another story. And Disney, I did think it was in Tennessee, that was my fault. But also bear-shaped honey containers had a strange pull for me, and I don't think I need to explain why. I mean, it just makes more sense, right? So, along with that as well, England was becoming a far more stressful place for me. I wasn't doing very well in school, so that was constantly making me feel anxious about my future. I had some close friends, but I wasn't exactly popular. So, and then the other problem is that I was being seriously underhydrated whenever I'd go to a British restaurant. So naturally, we knew what the best decision was. We went on and moved to Tennessee. But, like my mouth in this picture, there were some things I was missing. Most obvious being, things like school and friends will still be problems in Tennessee. Except now, I would have to start from scratch, which meant make new friends, start a new school, and learn a new culture. A culture which, if American TV was accurate, I was going to have to regularly defend my honor through dance battling. Especially if dancing was outlawed in that town. And I hate dancing. So, and this is about to be longer than it should in the dancing side, but I'll make a point. I hate dancing so much that when I was in 4th grade, they tried to make us do country dancing for one day at the beginning of the year. And I hated it so much that I remembered it for the end of year summary, and I wrote about it. I like maths book and football. I don't like country dancing. And I'm a chatterbox, but that's beside the point. But along with that, there was another thing that was a bit more challenging. With just a few weeks of moving here, I started to find out there was more of a language barrier than I had anticipated. So I think the obvious one you guys can know with us moving to Maryville, Tennessee, is that that's not Maryville. It's Merville. And we really showed how foreign we were every time we said that. But add to that, this is no longer a trolley, it's a cart. These are not biscuits, they're cookies. And this is not a football, which does make perfect sense because you guys have a much more foot-based sport that belongs to. Listen. But I was getting increasingly anxious about all of this stuff. This was a lot to process. And I mean, you can see by that face, I was serial killer stage struggling. But the more I got anxious, the less I wanted to interact with people, the more I had trouble in social situations. And so I decided that these social situations are more difficult than not having friends at all. So I was just going to hide away from the whole thing. During lunchtime, I would hide in the bathroom so I didn't have to talk to anybody or they wouldn't see me eating alone. When I was walking through the hallway, I would rush to my next classes so no one would catch me and talk to me. And I even went through not getting my hair cut because of how chatty I knew the hairstylist was going to be. Lots of people want me to bring this look back, but no. But what I had failed to account for is just how curious people would be here to meet and learn from an English person. So no matter what I would do, people would still find a way through. So when I did hide in the bathroom but got caught on day 3 because I hadn't planned well enough, I guess, they sent me back to the lunchroom, but there was a bunch of people that were happy to let me sit with them. And then when I rushed through the hall to not talk to anybody, I had people just meet me at my locker. And if I wasn't there the first day, they would just come back the next day. And as you can imagine, this was extremely overwhelming at first. But as time went on, the more I became comfortable with it. The more I became comfortable with it, the easier it got. The easier it got, the more I enjoyed it. And these were enjoyable conversations. I mean, most of the time, people were very complimentative. They would talk about how cool it was that I was from England. And they would tell me that my accent was very smart and sophisticated. As I'm sure you're all thinking now. But I am not smart and sophisticated. For one, I was usually one of the lower performing students in the class. And as for sophistication is concerned, we spent years in England living with our new TV on top of our broken TV. I think that was even in a you might be a redneck situation, so we were very apt to come here. So when this stuff happens, what's the overall lesson here? Now, the truth is, I'm not special, despite what my mother may tell you after the show. Anybody can really do the things that I did. But they're not going to go ahead with these goals unless they know that they're going to accomplish them. Otherwise, what's the point? But whenever some people are born with a high level of self-esteem, but others, like myself, need to work on it. And there are some people, too, that are born with a high level of self-esteem and lose it somewhere along the way. But regardless of how you got there, it can be extremely debilitating. It can make it seem that anything you embark on is going to be a failure. So you end up not doing it. But when people believe in you, like they believed in me when I first moved here, it allows you to believe in the same way that they do. You can use their belief for you to push you forward. And the more they do that, the more you accomplish. And the more you accomplish, the more confidence you have. And so on and so forth. But my experience is quite unique. People often don't give other people that level of respect and concern. Usually they'll hold back their belief until an individual has proven to them that they're worthy of it. But why? Why is belief conditional at all? These people aren't working on your goals. You don't stand to harm, or there's no harm can come to you if they fail or don't succeed. So why are you betting against them? Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about investing in somebody. Investing in somebody, you place a bet on them. You either give your time or your money to be integrated with their success. But you can still believe in somebody without investing in them. It can be helping a friend buy healthy groceries even after all the other ones have rotted in the fridge. I think we've all been there as well. Or it could be helping them sign up for a 5K, even if you think they won't accomplish it. Or it could be loudly applauding someone at their TED Talk, even if you think they didn't do a very good job. But regardless what it is, I want you to remember this. None of us know what somebody is capable of, least of which the person chasing the goal. So instead, choose to believe in them. It costs you nothing, and it can be one of the most valuable gifts you'll ever give them. And you never know when it is you that needs the help. Thank you.